Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
All right. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use. No doubt starts now. This, my fellow Americans, is the broadcast for August 28th in the year of our Lord 2025. This is hour 1 of 2, and the goal always to protect life, liberty, and property, and to promote God, family, and country, and to do so on your radio in the traditions of our founding fathers. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we use the blueprint for liberty, the supreme law of the land, the Constitution for the United States of America as our guide, the checks and balances brilliantly put in place by the founding fathers, one of the peaceful, restorative solutions we still have at our fingertips. And as you know, we reject revolution unless it's a Jesus revolution. Then we're in because we follow the Prince of Peace. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. There's so much to cover, so little time, as I always say on the radio. You know, the problem is, how do you select the news stories to focus on? Huh? Just a question for all of you guys to think about out there. As a talk show host, a commentator, broadcast journalist, whatever you want to call us, how do you know what stories to cover? And the way I usually figure out the stories that I cover, whenever something sparks an emotion in me, then I say, that's a news story I need to cover. Whenever something comes across my desk as a news headline or story or article or whatever, I look at it and say, one, what is the emotional response? Number two, does it promote God, family, and country? Does it protect life, liberty, and property? If it does, then I want to come out with praise and promotion and, hey, good job, well done, kind of stuff. If it doesn't do those things, then I say, how can I bring that viewpoint to the table? How can I bring those views to the story? Either I need to be contradictory, or I need to be, hey, you know, how do I do so? How do I do it with civility? Kind of another point. How do I take a story that's really critical that needs to be focused on and make sure that I treat it, even if I disagree, with civility, with kindness, with respect, with dignity? Hey, we can agree to disagree agreeably is the point, right? How do I do that? That's something really, really important that I want to work on. I know I'm not great at it. Sometimes I just go off on a bender and get mad at people and rip people apart and stuff. You know, that's not what we should be doing. I know it's great for shock jocks to get that done, but it's not my style. It's not what I believe in. I have the ability to do it quite well, I think. But what I mean by it's not my style, it's not who I am at my core. At my core, I want to be a follower of Jesus Christ. At my core, I want to follow the Prince of Peace. And consequently, then, I should advocate for peace. I should teach and live my life congruently, publicly, and privately, peacefully, and to encourage to others to do the same, right? Anyway, that's what I'm about. That's who I am. And I'm far from perfect at it, right? I fall into the trap like all other talk show hosts, like, hey, this story is a clown story. These thugs need to stop. And then I think about it. I say, wait a minute. You know, are these people genuine in their beliefs? And sadly, I think in many cases, they are. Even though to me, it's like, how can you think such a thing? How can you? But they do. And so I need to be respectful and kind and lead by example. And man, it means there's a lot of weight on my shoulders and on your shoulders, my fellow Americans, if you should choose to carry forward and, you know, I don't know if I want to say follow my lead, but follow the lead of those who are kind and peaceful, those who are truly Christian at their core, those who truly want to make a difference in a productive way. Now, Trump is a great person. Some say he's a baby Christian. Some say he's a Jew. I don't know really where he falls exactly when it comes to his faith, but I hope his wife, Melania, can help him. You know, she's got that anti-bullying campaign, Be Best. Well, I agree with her. And people mock her and say, how dare you? Your husband's one of the worst offenders at this. He bullies everyone. That may be true. But think of Melania as a very multifaceted, capable woman. In my mind, an outright leader. Because she's saying, hey, let's be civil, let's be kind, let's be gentle, let's not bully, let's lead by example. She's even got some initiatives to help children lead on the AI front, which is a pretty cool thing, in my opinion, if done right. Again, technology is not neither good nor bad. It just exists. It's in the hands of those who use it, whether it turns out to be good or bad, right? Well, anyway, I appreciate her lead for the Be Best campaign, helping children not be bullied, helping children to, well, pardon the pun, I'm going to use a Taylor Swift term right now. You got to calm down. You're being too loud. And I think sometimes in the public arena, that's the case. Now you say, Sam, how dare you quote a liberal like T Swift? I'm not really considered a Swiftie. I liked some of her early country music, a lot of her pop music. A lot of it sounds pretty cool. It's catchy, but it's not really my style. It's based on relationships and breakups and control and, when it's using sex as a kind of a weapon. And a lot of it's just not good. But you know what? Taylor Swift and Travis are getting married. That's the big news of the day. And on one hand, people can go, oh, brother, I don't want to hear about that anymore. I get it. And others could say, well, hey, what does this mean? Does it mean she's going to be a lot less of a feminist promoting these, agenda? She's 35. She's getting married. Well, I hope that it helps people realize, look, Taylor Swift isn't as far from you and I as we may think. Look, she teaches left and promotes left because that's what you got to do when you're a rock star, or you get slaughtered and lose your career. Now, I don't like that, but that's the reality today, right? If you're pretty mainstream, you do all right. If you're way to the left, you get super promotion. If you're to the right, you get shut down time after time. And so T Swift literally speaks to the left and promotes publicly big time, way left. But in her personal life, she must be a whole lot more right, if you buy the left-right paradigm in the first place, a whole lot more conservative than we think. A feminist like her would never need a man. Never agree to marry a man. The prenup has got to be out of this world, right? Taylor's billions is to Travis's, millions? I don't know. He outranks her financially big time. Is he okay with her making more money? Some say, well, the guy's a football guy, but he's really kind of a pansy. He kind of lets her wear the pants. I don't know about all that. Okay? I'm not interested in being in their relationship that personally. What I am interested in is taking a story like, hey, Tay's marrying Travis, okay, and say, good for them. I hope they get married, and I hope it's an incredible, successful marriage. I hope the fact that they're both stars in their own right, that they're both famous in their own right, doesn't taint their marriage before it ever gets a chance to start. Because I think marriage is a wonderful thing, a blessed thing. I don't know everything about it. I've only been married for 33 years. 8 kids later, 9 grandkids later. I've got a little bit of practice with marriage, but you know what? Marriage is very difficult. And that's not throwing shade on my wife. My wife's, in my opinion, the best in the world. But marriage is hard, not so much because of the relationship, but it's all the stuff on top of it. It's the ill health that people have, whether it's husband or wife or children. It's the money troubles some people have, either too much money, and so before you know it, they kind of, think their money and their fame and their power is more important than their marriage, and things melt down. Or whether it's not enough money and you struggle to pay the bills. Money is a difficult thing. Sex is a difficult thing. All these things are difficult for married people. You got to navigate it. And the less interference from the world, from society, from the trollers out there, from the paparazzi, whatever the case may be, the better. And so anyway, my prayers are that Taylor Swift and, Travis Kelce, that I pray that they can have an incredible marriage, welcome children to that marriage and everything else, but it kind of blows up the conservative/liberal divide, because Taylor Swift is supposed to be this big feminist liberal woman. But now that she's getting married, now that she wants children, do you think it might be that a lot of the Swifties, a lot of the liberal side, might start to kind of settle down and say, hey, marriage, I would like to get married too? Because that's our natural inclination to want to get married. It's our natural inclination to want to start a family. And I'm not downing those who aren't married. I'm not downing those who don't have children. I'm just telling you that the God-ordained family of society, you can deny it all you want in the public square. You can pretend it doesn't exist in the world of celebrities and popular people. But in the end of the day, in the quiet moments, when everybody's just got them and their thoughts, them and their heart, them and their Father in heaven, God Almighty, people start to take a little bit different stock about what's important. And they go, I do want to have someone who cares about me. At the end of the day, when I come home, doesn't matter if I'm a street sweeper, pardon the pun, of old days, or I drive a trash truck, or I'm really a rock star. At the end of the day, when you come home, you're just a person like everybody else, one of God's children. And when you come home, it's always nice to come home to someone that's got your back, someone that's ready to weather the thick and thin with you, somebody that's, hey, in it for the long haul. Anyway, it's a really, really, really important message, in my humble opinion. So you know what? A kudos to the Swifties, a kudos to Taylor Swift, and a kudos to Travis Kelce. Hey, good on you. I pray your marriage is successful, and I hope others realize the value that you've found. I'm Sam Bushman. You're watching and listening to Liberty Roundtable Live.
I have a question. Can a nation conceived in liberty carry its head high if it denies protection to the youngest and most vulnerable of its citizens? Can a country founded on God-given rights continue to thrive without understanding that life is a precious gift from our Creator? I believe that great nations and great civilizations spring from a people who have a moral compass. I don't think a civilization can long endure that does not have respect for all human life, born and not yet born. I will be in earnest. I will not equivocate, and I will not excuse. I will not retreat an inch, and I will be heard. One thing I promise you, I will always take a stand for life.
Step into the boots of the American West with Range Magazine, where grit meets grace. This is a front row seat to the stories, struggles, and triumphs of ranchers, farmers, and stewards of the land. From jaw-dropping photography to no-nonsense reporting, Range brings you the untold tales of life on the range. Whether you're a city dweller with a cowboy's heart or living life where the pavement ends, Range speaks to the soul of the West. Subscribe today at rangemagazine.com.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At cspoa.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever.
All right, live and on your radio, ladies and gentlemen, Sam Bushman. I guess I'm live and on your TV, too. We had Lance Migliaccio and George Ballantine with me yesterday, hosts of the Big Mig podcast. It's a video podcast as well. They say powered by truth. They're the tip of the spear. They bring the receipts. They're breaking necks and cashing checks, as they like to say. TheBigMig.com is where you can check out their award-winning work. I really appreciate those guys because they do TV. George is a very nice guy. He's the one that does all their production for their video, does an incredible job. You know, he's a self-taught video producer. And man, he's smart. He's good. Anyway, so we're working with them because twice a month we're going to start doing a simulcast. It'll be radio and TV for Liberty Roundtable Live and the Big Mig Show. So it's pretty cool stuff we're working on behind the scenes. Spread the word, tell your friends, whatever you want to call it. It'd be important. We highlighted yesterday, this is an interesting tidbit that I wanted to reiterate. August 27th, 1859, America invents the oil company. Thisdayofhistory.com with that piece. It's pretty cool in my opinion. Okay? This guy that developed this or did this had to go down, I think it was 169 feet. His name was Drake. And Drake's well demonstrated that oil can be tapped deliberately and reliably in sufficient quantities to support the new industry. In other words, hey, you can use, as they term it, fossil fuels. I don't like that term because I don't believe it's really just dinosaur bones that's the oil. I believe it's made from the mantle of the earth. Oil is not a finite resource as they want you to believe. I believe it's created by the mantle of the earth. And Jerome Corsi, Dr. Jerome Corsi, a good friend of mine who's been on the radio with us many, many times over the years, he wrote a book about that whole thing. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up a little bit again. Is pretty cool stuff. 1859 till now. And we haven't ran out of oil. Now, interestingly enough, in the middle of that stint, if you will, back in the 1970s, they wanted you to believe that it was an oil crisis, that, man, we were about out of oil. It's not even close to true, people. They lied to you then. They created the energy department and all this kind of stuff on the legs of that. It was just a way to grow government. It was just a way to, it's a sad tale to tell. I hope President Trump abolishes the energy department entirely. Doubt he will, but pray he will. But I bring that up because, back in the day when I was a kid, it got to the point where, man, gas is such a prized possession. We don't have any of it. You got to buy gas based on your license plate. If you had an even license plate, you could buy gas on the even days. And if you didn't have, or if you had an odd license plate number, then you'd have to buy gas on the odd days. Weird stuff like that. That was the 70s. We're now, 40 years past that, 50 years past, whatever. And now you look at that and you go, we weren't out of oil then and we're not out of oil now. And they predict we're going to be out of oil. It was, I think, Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, that basically said strange things, back in 05, 6, I don't remember exactly when. She was like, hey, by 2012, we're going to be out of, the environment's just going to melt down. It's going to be, none of that turned out to be true. Al Gore's claims, none of it turned out to be true. The global warming hoax has been exposed by President Trump. We're now embracing oil and nuclear and natural gas and everything else, and I think it's tremendous. Because I don't believe that the wind or the sun or these kinds of things will provide what's necessary. All right, do we have Bryan with us?
I'm here.
Hi, Bryan. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Glad to be with you. It's been a while.
Amen. We appreciate you and your time, my friend. Bryan Rust, ladies and gentlemen. For 3 generations, the Rust family has been helping people understand precious metal. Think about them as your educational partners. FreeWaterCoinCo.com is their website. You've got a partner. You've got a friend in the constitutional currency business. And Bryan, as you know, I don't know if you've heard, we're starting to turn this show into a TV show.
You're a movie star, Sam.
I don't know about that. Well, I will say this. I'm a great actor. You want to know why?
Yeah.
Because I can act like myself really well.
There you go. I love it.
I'm just kidding. So we want to see if eventually we can get you on video.
Wow. Well, I might not have that video face, actually. It might be kind of...
Well, I've had the radio face for 30 years, so you have no excuse. Not only that, I'm doing TV for the sighted, and I can't even see what I'm producing. How do you like that?
There you go. You're good.
So, but anyway, so right now, just so you understand, we've got you on audio, so you're in the show. We've also got your photo up.
Oh, good. There you go.
So people can kind of see who Bryan is, but eventually we'll work towards that. We've also got your website up too, freewatercoinco.com. So anyway, pretty good stuff. I like that. And so I was talking about Taylor Swift, just to kind of derail the topic of money for a second, although they've got plenty of money to start a family. But Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, I guess they're tying the knot. And I was talking about how Taylor's been kind of the feminist woman out there, celebrating career and everything else. And now when it comes down to it, 35 years old, we find out that she wants to have a man in her life. She wants to have a husband, a man. She hopefully wants to have children, so there'll be a father and a mother. And I couldn't throw out a greater kudos to them. And I pray that stardom doesn't tank their marriage before it starts. I pray that they can have a successful marriage, that the paparazzi can stay out of it, that they can really realize when you come home, it's incredible to come home to someone who's got your back and will go through the thick and thin. And anyway, I'm convinced that this is a wonderful thing. And I wonder how many Swifties will decide starting a family is really important. It shows we're not near as far apart as it first appeared, Bryan.
Well, we're all human beings, Sam, and you were talking a little bit earlier about being genuine and God-fearing. I think the word that I like to look at is what matters most, and for me, it's Amen. God. Then it's family, and so I don't know why we would want to tear that apart or tear that down. In fact, we're seeing evidence in the world we live in today, the disasters of one-parent families or broken families and so on. I think, a God-fearing family and a strong family is what we want, and it helps in our society and our us as human beings.
Anyway, I just thought that was tremendous. And I'm not here to attack Taylor Swift or whatever. I'm just saying the liberal, feminist movement is like, hey, you don't have to be a mom. You don't have to have children. Your career is more important. If you're a mom, you have a bunch of kids, you're just kind of falling into the old stereotype of man's in charge, woman's subservient to man. And all that stuff gets thrown aside when you look at a Taylor Swift. They just want to be happy. When you are with yourself, all by yourself, with your own heart and mind and thoughts, and everybody gravitates towards wanting belonging. And the family, the fundamental need of society, is the great place for belonging that our Father in heaven has set up for us. This isn't something that can be underestimated. And so I pray a ton of Swifties decide, hey, man, they want to have families too. I think it's a great sign.
Yeah, you and me both, Sam. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as I am a member, created a proclamation to the family. The prophet put, and the 12 apostles brought that out, and it's a wonderful thing.
1995 is when it came out, ladies and gentlemen. 05, 15, 25, 30 years ago. Wow. They came out with that when I started, a little after I started my radio career. Anyway, but It's incredible. And I want people to go look at that. If you go to churchofjesuschrist.org, you can find it. I'm not here to tell you got to embrace our religion or the theological views that we have, but I want you to look at that proclamation on the family and just ask yourself, God has invested his guidelines, to protect his children. He's chosen the family as the unit, the fundamental unit of society to accomplish that goal. And that's typically with a mother and a father, with fidelity to one another, welcoming children. It defines the roles of a proper family. And then it really talks about this adaptation. Every family's different. Everybody's got strengths and weaknesses and disabilities and different things. And so in every family, there's compromises that have to be made, whether there's disabilities or health problems or financial job loss, whatever. For example, my wife does all the driving, Brian.
That's good.
And I know people are thinking that's a good thing because I don't want to be on the road if you're driving, Sam. I get it. But I'm also saying, that's kind of what we mean, though, is that just because we've identified and documented the proper role of family according to God and according to Christian beliefs, that doesn't mean we're trying to shun anybody who doesn't have that, okay? So Taylor Swift not being married before or not having children before, we're not downing her for that. We're not saying that, hey, she can't have self-worth without that. She has self-worth because she's a daughter of God, not for any other reason. She's a human, and Heavenly Father, God, is her Father, her Heavenly Father. And so, anyway, I don't mean to digress about this so far. I want people to really understand we're not downing anybody who doesn't have those things. We are saying those are the safest places for women, for men, and for children to be. And, striving for that is a good thing. But just because I strive for that and just because I think that's the ideal, we do live in the real, Brian. We realize that it isn't perfect for people. But you can hope for, you can dream about, you can teach to, and people can work the real closer and closer to the ideal over time. Taylor Swift is a lot closer to God's ideal than she was before. And that's a great thing. And so we're not downing anybody who's a single mother. We applaud you for your love and dedication to your children. We're not downing anybody who doesn't maybe have the traditional family. We're just telling you that, hey, the next best thing is for people to create families with neighbors, with loved ones, with friends, with coworkers, with people. If they don't have the traditional, normal, ordained family, you can build the closest thing too, and that's what you should do. That's our recommendation. All right, enough on the family, but I just went off on that Taylor Swift thing, and I really thought it was important because I know Brian has a lot of these same viewpoints in mind. He wants to have God, family, and country back too. And the best way to have our country back is to start with honest money. freewatercoinco.com. Bryan Rust with me. When we get back, the Honest Money Report. We'll talk about the current spot price for gold and silver. We'll talk about what's going on in the economy and a whole lot more. I'm Sam Bushman. Bryan Rust with me. freewatercoinco.com. You are watching and listening to the one and only Liberty Roundtable Live.
Protecting your liberties. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. They hugged each other. They wiped away tears. Mourners at last night's vigil when the two children killed, 17 people injured in the Minneapolis church school shooting. Police Chief Brian O'Hara says the gunman attacked as the youngsters were attending a service in the Annunciation Catholic School chapel.
During the Mass, a gunman approached on the outside, on the side of the building, and began firing a rifle through the church windows towards the children sitting in the pews at the Mass.
The gunman, 23-year-old Robin, formerly known as Robert Westman, police say he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A personnel shakeup at the country's top public health agency, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
The White House has fired CDC Director Susan Monarez less than a month after she was confirmed by the Senate, saying she isn't aligned with President Trump's agenda and refused to resign. Her lawyers said Monarez was targeted and her removal is part of a systematic dismantling of public health institutions. Several top CDC leaders also submitted their resignations.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston. Reversing a Biden administration decision, the Air Force will provide full military funeral honors for Ashley Babbitt. She's the Air Force veteran fatally shot inside the U.S. Capitol January 6, 2021, she was shot by then Capitol Police Officer Michael Byrd. Although Washington, D.C.'s mayor is no fan of President Trump's National Guard deployment, his federalization of the city's law enforcement, Muriel Bowser says crime has declined significantly, including an 87% drop in carjackings in less than 3 weeks. Unemployment applications fell last week, and the GDP has been revised upward. Watching Wall Street, the Dow down 66 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. You work hard, you build wisely, your home has become one of your greatest assets. If you're staying put this summer, this might be the perfect time to put that equity to work. Whether it's funding a second home, helping your kids get their start, or simply creating more margin in your financial life, Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans are the only ones I trust to guide you through it. They've done loans for my family. They tailor every loan to fit your goals. Fellowship is a direct lender and operates with your best interest in mind. If you're looking to access your equity through a refi or exploring a HELOC for some cash this summer for a second property, or maybe tackle those updates you've been putting off, start with people you trust. People I trust. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. or call 800-510-MIKE. 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans. Mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
This is a battle between truth and deceit, a battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness, and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
Imagine a school where faith and integrity are at its center, where heritage and responsibility instill character, where educating both hearts and minds brings about academic excellence. There is a school in American Fork where character and embracing the providence of a living God are fundamental, where students' national test scores average near the 90th percentile. Based on LDS principles and a love of country, now in our 39th year, American Heritage School is accepting fall enrollment for kindergarten through high school. What would you do for your child? Give them an education that will prepare them for life. Located east of the Temple in American Fork, American Heritage School is a remarkable and affordable alternative. Visit us, find us online, or in the Yellow Pages. American Heritage School in American Fork.
Live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Bryan Rust, freewatercoinco.com, with me on your radio. Check out his award-winning content on your screen. freewatercoinco.com is where you go. He can help you understand what to get and why based on your goals. I'm telling you, you've got a consultant that has 50 years of experience in precious metals when you go to our buddies, freewatercoinco.com. And Bryan, where's gold and silver sitting today, sir? Gold?
Gold is sitting at 34.08.
And 0 cents?
Correct.
So $3,408, 0 cents. Wow. Okay, silver?
39.10.
Wow. Silver's up there, isn't it?
Yeah, they're both holding strong.
39.10 for silver, and just so everybody understands, that's spot price. Gold, 34.08 even. 34.08 even. Now, people need to understand when you buy stuff on paper, those numbers don't match, right, Bryan?
Right. That's the driven price mark on the exchange. You know, the paper-driven spot price is what they on the exchange would be those prices right there.
Okay, so that's spot, and then when you buy really and take possession of real metal, the numbers are different for a couple of reasons. One, you got to have the dealer, the guy that gets you the coins and silver. You got to cover shipping and all that. You got to have a little bit of money for the house, so to speak. And then there's the reality of the spread. Just because paper says something, everybody knows when you take possession, it's a different ballgame. Are those the reasons for the spread, the difference, or am I overlooking things?
Yeah, you have the obviously the cost to produce the product. And then you, for instance, any government piece, they want their percentage. They're not really market makers per se for coins and so on, but yet they want a piece of the pie. So they'll come out with American Gold Eagles or American Silver Eagles or, products, commemorative coins and so on, products that they want to make, their percentages, 2-3% on all those coins, which moves back into their spending ability to take that money, but they don't buy it back. So it becomes a secondary market, or, 5 major players. We used to buy direct from the mint. We'd go to them and buy product. And then they said, well, we're not going to deal with 500 companies. We're going to deal with 5. So then those 5 companies buy from directly.
Yeah, and let me stop you there. Bryan, that's something that needs to change too, because if we're going to return to constitutional currency, the treasuries are going to have to literally deal with almost everybody, right?
Yeah, but the banking, the bank would have that product, where you would, yeah. So that's how it would work.
So the first thing to do is create competing currencies so good money can drive out bad. The second one is the Treasury can't have their favoritism plan where they reward the Jamie Dimons of the world and the Morgan Chase, whatever, big banks, the Warsaw family of old and all this kind of stuff. That stuff's got to stop, folks. And government doesn't need to be the single controller of all money. Okay, this isn't a what do they call that thing when a company totally takes over? Create a monopoly?
Monopoly, yeah.
Yeah, they're turning in monopoly money, people, and we got to stop that for sure. All right, there's the Honest Money Report. What do you think is the best buy right now?
Well, usually when clients come in, we try to put them in a position where, okay, what's the best buy for your bang for your buck, I guess. Because a lot of times if I'm buying stuff in the store, I'm not having to order product. That's the best time to get a better buy because it came in the store. I can, my cost would be cheaper. I just bought it here. I can turn it to you for, I don't have to go order it from my wholesaler. So that's the best way to just ask that question. What's your best buy today?
And the reason that's important, folks, is Bryan takes the time and his team takes the time to really analyze what makes the most sense. In other words, they're telling you buy what we buy. It's kind of like the guy that's really successful in stocks. His advice would be, well, buy when I buy and sell when I sell, Sam. That's what you do. It's kind of like that, though, that you guys literally curate what you believe to be the best deals on the market, and that's why you have purchased them and invested in them, saying, hey, I believe this will do my customers right. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so, similar to that. It also, means that you might get if gold is sitting at 34.08 an ounce, and I might have a piece that's 34.08 an ounce of gold for melt, or I might have something that might be $10 over melt, just because it's, where that would save you as opposed to paying another $50 over melt. So there's times where you can do that.
And it's really the foresight of those who do it. If you buy something and you have it, and then all of a sudden the market kind of switches and changes, it's because of your foresight on a lot of those things. That's really the case. These silver nickels that you've got a lot of are a great example of that. Hey, if you really want to have no fluff in your buy, just the metal reality, hey, man, those silver nickels are one of the best deals you can get.
Yeah, those were a great. We're getting down to, let's see, what did I have? I think about 180,000 silver nickels, and I'm down.
Hold on, 180,000 pieces or dollars worth?
Pieces. I've had over 500,000 silver nickels.
Wow. Brian's selling.
Over a number of years there, I bought, there's been a client that's had, tremendous amount of that. And so we've purchased it, but yeah, I've almost sold out of those.
Wow. And the interesting thing about that is when Brian bought them, silver wasn't 39. What is it? 39.10. Silver wasn't 39.10, was it, Brian?
It was not. That's correct.
And the reason I'm bringing that up, people, is this. They want you to believe that there's no advantage, that you can't do well in metals. And that's false. You got to think of metals as a slow growth to your portfolio. That's right. It's not a boom and a bust like digital currencies or sometimes even your own fiat dollar. It's more stable than that. So it's steady growth. But make no mistake, there is growth there. And it's a hedge in your portfolio against those things that are a lot more volatile. But the fact is, don't think it doesn't grow. When I was a kid, I got my first silver dollar for $4.25, people. And now it's $39.10, man. And I'm not that old.
Well, let me just say, Sam, the motto, like I've always said, kind of my little catchphrase is, my quarter still gets me a gallon of gas, and it still does today. So, I remember when gas was a quarter, and it.
How much silver is it in a quarter, by the way?
$5.
So how many quarters make up a troy ounce or whatever?
$1.39. So $1.39 of 90% is an ounce.
Okay, so just so everybody understands, your quarter's like one, I don't know, a little less than a sixth of that.
Yeah.
And it still buys a gallon of gas. So if I buy a quarter from you right now, what would a quarter cost?
I cost you that $5. Yeah, it's probably 24. What's that? 24 per dollar. So if it's 24 divided by 4, so it's $6. If it cost you about $6, but
okay. So my point is, I can almost buy 2 gallons of gas right now, Brian.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But see, I try to educate the fact of my quarter. Even if you go back 40 years. It was getting me a gallon of gas. Today, that quarter still gets me that same buying power. See, it doesn't lose the buying power. Where everything else, a quarter won't get you a Coke. If you pull out of the till, go down and try to buy a Coke for a quarter, you can't. But the quarter, the real money still buys you real value.
When I was a kid, my dad told me about his life. And when he was a kid, for a quarter, this is the 40s now, when my dad was a kid, he could buy for a quarter a hamburger, French fries, and a soft drink. Now, I get that it wasn't all supersized like it is now, but still, think about that. You could literally get a hamburger, a soft drink, and fries for a quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something, And nowadays, even if a quarter's worth $6, I mean, Carl's Jr. had to go ahead and scrimp and everything else and give you a $6 burger. You get the same thing, you just don't get, what, the fries and the drink? Because our society has just changed so much. But you would think that with all the machines to make things and everything else and the robots and the support, you would think it would be cheaper, Brian.
Yeah, they try to, something, the way things have gone, it seems like everything's more money now. You buy a truck, it's $100,000, it seems like.
Now, when I was a kid, barely born in 1967, that shows you how old I am. I was born on July 4th, 1967, everybody. Anyway, in 1967, the average price of a gallon of gas was 33 cents a gallon, Brian.
There you go.
There's a little bit of context to that that's helpful. Gas prices in the mid-1960s ranged from 30 to 35 cents per gallon. My dad swore when I was older that if it ever went above 60 cents, he wouldn't buy gas anymore. Famous last words, huh? Hang tight, Bryan Rust with us. You're listening and watching Liberty Roundtable Live.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
As you are aware, America is divided over every fault line possible. This is intentionally fostered by those who do not love God, family, or country. We believe a peaceful future as a free people absolutely depends on civility. Clarion Call for Civility is looking for funding and volunteers at every level to make our hopes and efforts a reality. Please donate, sign our pledge, and help us in our sacred cause. Please visit callforcivility.com for more details. Callforcivility.com.
As the United States boldly stepped forward in the glorious light provided by its new Constitution in 1787, the nations of the earth were in awe of the newfound strength and hope of this free land. Today, the nation stands at a crossroads. A divergence from the original intent put forth in the United States Constitution has brought grave threats to our beloved nation. A miracle is needed if the United States is to survive. That miracle is again the pure application of the United States Constitution. I'm Scott Bradley. In my To Preserve the Nation book and lecture series, I bring forth truths that will help raise up a new generation of statesmen like those noble Americans who founded this land. Vigorous application of these principles will invigorate and restore the nation, and we may become again the freest, most prosperous, most respected, and happiest nation on earth. Visit topreservethenation.com to begin that restoration.
All right, back with you live. Bryan Rust with me. FreeWaterCoinCo.com. So when I was born, gas was about 33 cents a gallon. In the early 40s, gas was suppressed. It was only 15 to 19 cents a gallon in the early 40s. It was rationed by the government because of the war. But in the late 40s, it went up to about 23 to 27 cents a gallon. So the quarter you're talking about was true in the 1940s, late 40s. And that relates currently, hey, you can do it better today with an ounce, or I'm sorry, with a silver quarter than you could do then. Then you could buy 1 gallon of gas with a silver quarter. And nowadays, you could almost buy 2 gallons of gas, Brian. So those who say that there's no real value in constitutional currency, they flat out don't know what they're talking about historically, do they?
That's right. Yeah, it holds that, it holds value. The $20 gold piece still buys you that or more in product than it did when it was 20 back in the day. There was an advertisement that you could Campbell's soup 10 for $1. Well, 10 cents a can or 12 for $1. But that silver dime still gets you a can of Campbell's soup.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I want to bring up an interesting topic, and I think it's related. Although people will tell me that I'm off my rock, and it's not related at all, Brian. But give me a little bit of room here, and then you can kind of chime in and tell me your thoughts. So I'm convinced that if we had God back in our lives in a meaningful way, meaning we as a society obeyed the 10 Commandments, I think we would be much more prosperous than we are today. And I know we think we're prosperous today because you can borrow money and the government subsidizes everything and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it would be much more stable and prosperous. We'd have an asset-based society, not a debt-based society, number one. But this is the interesting tidbit. I don't know if you've ever heard of the American Dream Mall. It's in East Rutherford, New Jersey, okay? It just got sued. Why? For allowing sales on Sunday. Yeah, they say it's claimed to violate local what they call blue laws. I don't know how many people know what blue laws are. The New York Times has this piece, and the lawsuit filed on Monday in New Jersey's Superior Court in, Bergen County, accuses the mall of allowing the sales of items like lumber, furniture, and clothing on Sundays, contrary to a 1798 statute that's still on the books. The mall, which openly advertises being open on Sundays, argues that, hey, our mall is built on state-owned land, so it's okay because we're not subject to these local laws. Bergen County is known for its stringent enforcement of these laws with the goal of reducing weekend traffic. And in 1984, I guess, they revisited these laws to say, should we keep them or get rid of them? And the people kept the laws. They wanted lower traffic. They wanted less. Now, the reason I bring this up, Brian, is, we need to treat the Sabbath day with reverence and respect. And when we created just another shopping day at the mall, I think we lose something in our society there. And people would say, oh, Sam, you're crazy, or how dare you force your Christian beliefs on the rest of us, or this is a law that was in 1798. Now, I recommend they obey the law. If they want to change the law, that's up for discussion. Sadly, societies can choose to go against God's laws. But to me, very interesting modern time discussion, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no doubt about it. You can kind of see where they're. I believe that obviously I believe that it's better that we try to obey the Sabbath and respect God and give Him that day and rest and so on. And obviously there are people that have to work and other things that go on the Sabbath. But I'm all for taking it back to God.
My response is we need to kind of think about this too. What's necessary versus what's not on the Sabbath. So the reason I brought the gas story up first is, hey, if there's 5 gas stations in a town, I get that you might say, hey, on Sundays, let's have one of them open. People do have to travel for various reasons. And so let's have a gas station open, but we don't need all 5 open. We can kind of take turns and people can work less and spend time with their families but yet functional, needful services. I mean, I don't think hospitals should really just close and say, hey, we won't take care of you on Sunday. I mean, there's guidelines. We need police, we need fire services, we need, fine. But that's a big difference versus buying lumber and furniture and cologne and whatever we're going to buy at the mall, right?
Correct. I think, hey, if the people voted for it back then or whatever, it's still on the books today, maybe.
Well, they voted for it in 1798. It became a law. But then in 1984, they said, should we jettison this law? And the people said, no, we should keep it. And now they're getting sued over it because they're not obeying it. Well, the mall being built on state land is another concern to me, too. Why on earth does state land, first off, I don't know why the state has land, but separate from that, I don't know why the mall gets state land. I think they should give me a piece of state land for my buildings, Brian.
That's right. It seems like they pick and choose who gets the state land. If you're Walmart or Costco or one of the bigger companies, you get the state land. If you're just good old Bryan Rust or something, or maybe Sam, you're not going to get any of the land.
Anyway, I just find that very, very interesting. Now, here's the next story that relates to economically speaking. I think if we just get the government out of our economics, if we were to turn to God Almighty, if we were to use honest money, man, we would be a lot more stable as a society. But here's this one. California has announced tax incentives for 22 movie projects to produce what they call local production, as confirmed by state officials in California. That's according to the New York Times. Jason Keller's Apple TV's comedy shtick, if you will, featuring Owen Wilson is involved. They're going to receive a 40% tax credit after relocating from Vancouver, Canada. So or maybe it's Vancouver, Washington, I guess. I'm not sure. The tax incentives, they say, aim to reverse the decline in video production or movie production in California, which has seen a decrease by a third. And so they're trying to reverse that trend, a decrease by a third, because, hey, it's just so expensive there. They've got to create these incentives. They say this push follows the recent strikes and the workers' battles and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, they say the 22 television productions that have been awarded this money received $255.9 million and are projected to generate about $1.1 billion in spending. and employ 6,500 cast members, and then what they call 46,000 background actors. I don't know what a background actor is, but I guess if you're at the mall doing a movie, the guy walking by is a background actor. That's my understanding. Anyway, very interesting here too, these massive tax incentives. The next application period for these quote credits are set for between October and January. I look at this and I think, Brian, I know it's supposed to bring in a lot of money, but should we really have subsidized government funding to reward people and create this unlevel playing field out there? To me, no wonder California's in so much trouble.
Yeah, I think that goes across the board. I think they try to generate, they're looking at kind of what's happened in that industry and so on, and so they've got to give incentives to bring it back, I guess. You got to pay someone to bring it back. I don't know, but it seems like a lot of other states seem to be getting those bids because they're a lot cheaper than in California to make those movies there. So, yeah.
Anyway, I just find that interesting. Maybe if we want to get government money, we should just go into the acting business. We started talking out. I can act myself really good. The only problem is, why would I be in a movie?
Hey, you're on TV now, Sam. So maybe.
Why would I be in a movie though, Brian?
Well, I could be a walk-by.
You could be one of those background actors, Brian. You just walk by with a big old sack of gold across your shoulder and stuff. You said Bryan Rust, man. There he is, big old pouch of.
I found sorry to bounce over here. I found an article that was pretty interesting. It says that the debt is now larger. Our debt is now larger than the combined GDP of China, Germany, India, Japan, and the UK. So what is that? When we talk about money, that's pretty crazy right there.
Well, and that's where Donald Trump is just firing a couple of Federal Reserve people that he feel like is committing fraud. This lady committed fraud on our mortgages and all that kind of stuff. I think that Donald Trump's point is legitimate, but I think that the greater point is, forget worrying about these clowns that have violated the law and been dishonest with money. The whole Federal Reserve is dishonest with money. How do you expect her to be honest when the whole system is dishonest? So why don't we just get rid of the Federal Reserve, shut down dishonest money, and be honest? Pardon the pun, Brian. Be honest with ourselves, right?
I no doubt, Sam. Well put.
We want to say she was dishonest. How dare her get a better interest rate on mortgages by lying? And I'm saying the second you guys create every dollar bill, every 10 or 5, 10, 20, 50, $100 bill, you're lying about its worth. The second you create it, it's a fraud. That's it's a lie. But yet you're going to get mad at her for lying because she wants a better interest rate?
That's right.
Wow. I mean, isn't that,
where's the common sense?
What do they call that? Call it the pot calling the kettle black? Is that what it is?
Yeah, there you go.
I hope I didn't just fall into a racist kind of a thing, but
Well, you didn't mean it that way. That's right.
Of course not, because I'm not a racist. I believe we're all God's children and we got to treat each other like it. Anyway, Bryan Rust with me, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get the nickels, you better hurry because they're almost gone. Number one. Number two, what's the next best thing? How much is the Silver Eagle silver dollar right now?
Yeah, they're pushing $42, $43. One factor is you might want to look at, you've got copper and silver on the. They're saying breakout. Watch out for copper as well. So.
Well, there you have it. If you guys want to pay $42 for $1, I'm just kidding. It just shows you how debased your currency really is. If you want a consultant, if you want somebody to kind of help you through this complicated maze of precious metals, what should you get and why and all that kind of stuff, think the folks over at freewatercoinco.com. They'll take care of you. Tell them we sent you, would you please? freewatercoinco.com. Brian, thank you so much, brother.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Great job.
He always does a phenomenal job. You are watching and listening to the one and only Liberty Roundtable Live, hard-hitting news that refuse to use talk show. I am Sam Bushman. Check us out at lovingliberty.net. Spread the word, share the love, and God save the Republic of the United States of America.